Thank you, Cyril. It's a stressful time of year for high school students in Nova Scotia as they prepare for their exams, but sometimes pressures at home and anxiety over the major tests can hamper a student's performance. So here to offer tips on how to get an A+ is Laura-Lee Burgess from Oxford Learning. Good morning.
Good morning.
What is the best way for a student to prepare for an exam?
The very best way is to start early. So it's a little late now, we're already mid-exams, but start early, plan in advance, and break things down. Our biggest advice to all of the students that we're working with is really set up a study plan, break things down into manageable chunks so they're not sitting down and trying to learn all of the material from the entire semester the day before an
overwhelmed. And when you
Absolutely.
say study early, what does that mean? Does that mean 2 weeks? Does that mean just a week?
It means really starting as soon as you're learning new material. So we really want students to be learning as they go and make sure it's something that they understand, because if they understand the material as they go along, then just before exams it's really a review as opposed to trying to learn all that information at the last minute.
Yeah.
So start early, meaning the day of, so the day you learn something new.
Wonderful. And you were saying also create some study notes as well while you're studying.
Yeah, so from the notes that they're taking in class or from textbooks, making notes that make sense to them. So paraphrasing, making sure that they understand and they're not just memorizing facts or statements from the text, but really putting it in their own words. So writing down things that are important, but also making sure that it's in a way that they can understand it.
Mm-hmm. And what are some things that students should absolutely not do? You know, studying very late into the study season, maybe a couple of days before an exam. What do you suggest students avoid?
Avoid staying up all night. So try to get a good night's sleep the night before the exam. So that goes back to preparing early, but not cramming the night before. That really doesn't help. Making sure they're well rested. Those are all, you know, have a good breakfast, get up with enough time so you're not rushed. But biggest thing is make sure you get enough sleep.
Does cramming help at all? Staying up late while you're tired studying, does any of that information retain?
It doesn't. Not at all. You want to make sure that you're studying small, sort of start earlier in the day so that, you know, and approach it in smaller chunks so they're not spending hours and hours and hours in a row studying, but, you know, do a little bit, take a break, making sure that they're kind of spreading that out, but no, cramming it all in and to the very last minute doesn't work.
Doesn't work. Okay, well, what role should parents play in exam preparation? Should they play a role at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if students can explain what it is that they're learning, it makes then they know what they're doing. So if they can, you know, if a parent can say, can you explain to me, you know, how you would answer this question, then if they can explain it to somebody else and it makes sense, then we know that they've learned it. So parents, it's a great idea for parents to say, what is it that you're going to be, you know, doing in this particular subject, or how would you answer this math question, that kind of thing.
Do you recommend students studying in groups or by themselves, or maybe a mixture of the two?
It depends on what the material is. I find that groups at the last minute can be a little stressful. If you're working in a group and, you know, somebody says something that you don't really know the answer to, then panic can set in. So make sure that you understand. But, you know, study groups are great when you're learning new material, but I would say try to avoid that at the very last minute. Definitely avoid that the day of the exam.
They all understand this and I don't.
Absolutely.
What's the difference between reviewing and studying?
So reviewing is something that, back to kind of starting early, if you're reviewing the material, then you already have learned it. So studying tends to be making sure that you're understanding the material, and that's the process that should be going on all the way along. You really should be studying throughout this semester and not just the day before, but studying is really the process of understanding it, making sure that it makes sense, making connections, asking yourself some questions, and making sure that you get it.
Wonderful, Laura-Lee. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time this morning. All right, now we're going to check in with Tina for a look at your day planner.
Yeah, we've got snow.